Welcome to the Hired Not Fired podcast, brought to you by The Real Me, the soft skills first talent solution that helps employers hire entry-level employees with better developed soft skills, such as communication, problem solving, or emotional intelligence. Join us as we sit down with hiring managers, talent leaders, and others and get insider tips to help Gen Z stand out and get hired. Let's dive in. Hey there, welcome to Hired Not Fired. I am thrilled to welcome back DJ Lee of Bentley University. DJ is a senior assistant director at Bentley's Multicultural Center, where he works closely with students of color and their allies while leading initiatives in student and employee engagement, DEI, and leadership development. He is passionate about emotional intelligence, workplace culture, and helping students show up authentically and confidently as they prepare to enter the workforce. Welcome back, DJ.
Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be back.
You gave so much valuable advice about emotional intelligence and how to develop that. And you mentioned a concept that you read a lot about in organizational leadership, and that's psychological safety.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we could dig in a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay. How would you explain psychological safety to someone who's never heard the term?
Yeah, so I would explain psychological safety as a feeling like you can ask questions, you can make mistakes, and you can speak up without feeling embarrassed or you're going to be punished or being labeled as difficult. For interns, new grads, or early career hires, psychological safety matters because they're learning everything at once. They're learning new systems, they're learning expectations, and they're learning workplace norms. When people don't feel safe, they stop asking questions. And when questions are stopped and they're not asking questions, learning and performance slow down really fast, and that could really hinder their progress in the workplace.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, why does psychological safety matter so much for young people who are still learning, like interns and new grads and early career hires? And you did mention because they're at this place of learning, but do you have anything
Mhm.
to add to that?
Yeah, and I don't want this to be perceived as like a negative thing, but this new generation that's coming into the workplace, they are a little bit more in tune with their emotions. They're a little bit more in tune with how they feel. And it's just really important to set expectations of being like, this is how we run things, this is how I give feedback, this is how I communicate. And just setting that standard so that way they know what they're kind of getting into. And that could be a very amazing conversation on the first day on onboarding with your supervisor and how your one-on-ones are going to go, how your staff meetings are going to go. And so just setting that standard of what psychological safety means in the workplace and having an open dialogue could really go a long way. And I don't think a lot of places actually have an open dialogue about that.
Mm.
And it might be like a glimmer of a conversation, but no one really comes out and says, this is what psychological safety is. I think it is still relatively a new term that a lot of people are getting used to talking about, and people are starting to have conversations about it. But I think it is very important to talk about it out loud and set expectations and standards.
Well, that's a great point because the media, the field of organizational leadership all talks about psychological safety. That doesn't mean that your average company has it.
Mhm.
So, if you are a new employee, what are some early warning signs that your new workplace may lack psychological safety?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So some early warning signs that you definitely need to look out for are people silent in meetings? Are people apologizing excessively? Are people avoiding asking questions, clarifying questions? And you might also notice defensiveness when feedback is given. There can be unclear expectations. And then the biggest, I guess, warning sign or red flag that I would say is when leaders who react negatively to your mistakes. When people are more focused on not messing up than on learning or improving, that's usually a sign that psychological safety is not a big concern or is missing in the workplace for sure.
Those are some great signs to look out for. Now, what about during the interview stage? Is there something a new grad or a candidate can do to assess psychological safety while they're still on the interview? without
Yeah,
putting themselves at risk.
no, absolutely. This is very, very easy to do. And I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to ask these type of questions during the interview,
Mhm.
and you can easily assess psychological safety in the matter of 5 minutes. So the way you could do this is really pay attention to how your interviewer responds to your questions. So do they seem open or do they seem dismissive during the questions you're asking? So notice whether they're talking about, which are important things for me if I was interviewing for a workplace. Are they talking about learning? Are they talking about feedback? Are they talking about growth? Or are they only talking about performance and pressure? Those are some things that I really don't want an interviewer ask me or answer questions about performance and pressure. I really want them to kind of talk about the growth that I could grow into this role. And you can also ask safe questions like, how do you support new hires when they're learning? And the really important thing after asking this question is not only the answer that they're giving, but also hearing the tone and enthusiasm behind the answer as well. Like that is super, super important when asking that question for sure.
Yeah, that's really helpful. What responsibility do individuals have in contributing to psychological safety in the workplace and not just benefiting from it, right? So it's not just what
Mm.
can psychological safety do for you, but what can the candidate or the new hire do for psychological safety?
Yeah, so I really want to preface by saying that everyone in the workplace plays a role in psychological safety, regardless of title, regardless how long you've been there. Everybody plays a role in psychological safety. Like the managers and higher ups, are they the main source of what psychological safety means in the workplace? Absolutely, but everybody is accountable for psychological safety. So I just want to preface by saying that first. This means by listening, not interrupting people, responding with curiosity instead of judgment towards people, and ultimately owning your mistakes instead of hiding them. When individuals model honesty, respect, accountability, that's when you start creating that psychological safety. That's when you start creating an environment that people want to work in and they feel safe in, and they want to continue working there and grow with the company as well.
That's great advice. And it's so true, right? The whole team has to work on it together.
Mhm.
So let me ask you what advice you might have for a new hire who's a new grad who does not have power or status yet, and they
Mm,
enter a workplace that all of a sudden doesn't feel so psychologically safe. What can they do?
mm. Yeah, no, this is a really great question. I will also preface by saying it's gonna be hard. But if you are really being like, I want to create a sense of psychological safety, not only for me, but for the company, and it's just being a positive, nice person, saying hi to everybody, maybe having a 15-minute coffee chat with somebody, letting them know that you're here. Always be like, hey, if you need help with this, I'm more than happy to help. Just showing up outside of meetings, outside of like work in general, and just showing that you're a great, positive, and nice person could go a really long way. And that can kind of spread onto other people as well. Be like, oh my God, this person was so nice to me. And they might want to take all that energy that you gave them into giving it to somebody else. And then that's how you spread positivity. So that is just an easy way to kind of start creating psychological safety if you feel like there isn't a good foundation of psychological safety in your workplace.
I love that. And I do think that that's powerful. And when you made me think that there are a lot of people who, when they're shy or nervous, they might have like this stone face and, they might
Mm,
look serious or mean. And it's really, they're just shy or they're just nervous and
yeah.
giving the benefit of a doubt, but letting the new hire know, all right, well, you know what? Why don't you make an effort to smile, to
Mm,
talk? That could be really helpful. And that it does spread, doesn't it? Positivity does spread.
absolutely.
I love your take on it. Thank you so much, DJ. This has been so valuable. And I know our listeners got so much helpful, actionable advice to help them succeed in the workplace.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad that I was able to share my insights today.